Well, I have just a bit of work to do on the side rails before it's time to sand this thing down and finish it. And two changes I need to make. The obvious one is the plugs to hide the screws, and I do something a bit novel for that. The second, I'm not entirely happy with the shape of this side rail. The top is flat, the bottom is curved. And the curve matches the twisted legs. The flat top kind of matches the slats, and with both those profiles together, the side rail kind of fits in with neither. So I'm going to try to sculpt it so that it looks like less of an imitation of the top slats and more of an integral part of the twisted legs. I start by working on my solution for the plugs, or plug I should say, because I'm going to make just one large plug to cover both of those holes from the screw, and it's going to be cherry wrapped in a small ring of walnut. So what I'm doing right here is creating that ring of walnut, and I'm doing it with a template that I'm going to first route out the ring that will hold the cherry, and I've got a collar on that router bit to allow for just a little outer ring of walnut that'll be left over. I should have marked these circles when I had that in place. I set my bandsaw fence incorrectly, it turns out. I thought I was going to be releasing that waste in the middle of all those circles, but since I didn't set it correctly, I have to hog it out with a Forstner bit and use a flush trim router bit to get rid of the extra waste. Now I'm ready to make the cherry that's going to go inside the walnut. I want it just a little bit thicker than the walnut. Cut it out on the scroll saw and then use the disc sander to get close to the line. And then this glue up didn't go so well for me. It ended up being kind of a mess. There's dye in the glue to make it match the walnut, by the way. With the glue, I ended up splitting the walnut, even though I thought I had a fit that wouldn't cause it to happen. So I work a little bit of glue into there, into the crack, and then I clamp it up. It's messy, but it worked. While that's drying, I lay out the holes on the side rails. And this was a nerve-wracking operation. I was nervous that I'd ruin the piece, obviously. I don't think I would have attempted this without the fancy carbide-tipped Forstner bit. And I gotta say, they cost a mint, but man, they really cut nice. This operation didn't cause me any trouble at all. Freehanding a large Forstner bit in an awkward position on a finished piece that I'd hate to ruin. It worked very well. Now I flatten the plug forms, and similar to the cherry inner pieces, I cut them out on the scroll saw and then use the disc sander to get close to the line. Check the fit, and then I use a plane iron to mark a line all the way around where the plug is going to meet the rail. Now I set up the lathe to turn the form that I want for these plugs, and those circles I just drew will help me stick the plug form to the center of that lathe headstock backer piece thing. profile that I want. I can work to that line and make sure that there's going to be a smooth transition from the rail to the plug. That's about as close as I can get. I can still see the line on that side, but it's gone on this side, so obviously I wasn't completely square when I drilled that hole, but it's close enough and I can work that out with sandpaper. So I release the plug and glue it in. There's a look at what it'll look like. Now it's time to start thinking about how I'm going to change the top profile to make that side rail look like it matches the twisted legs, not just on the underside, but on the top as well. So I define the curves I think I want and start removing material with a chisel. I went back and forth quite a few times thinking I was done, not happy with the profile, removing more, until I found something I was happy with. Then I wanted to curve on the top too. Obviously this would have been much easier had I decided I needed it before everything was glued together, but the jigsaw worked out okay. Now with the profile I want defined on one side, I can use the turbo plane, my Christmas present, to much more quickly and somewhat more nerve-wrackingly remove material from the other side. I don't get too close to those lines just because this thing really eats wood. I finish it up with the chisel. And I work on a round over for this rail as well. And then sand it up. One side complete. There's how it turned out. So I'm quite happy with how this turned out. After adding this curve, the side rail definitely fits in more with the outer forms of the twisted legs and doesn't try to act like the pattern slats. It was never going to fit in here. It was never going to look like a continuation of the slats because it's lower, it's thicker, and it doesn't have the obvious pattern in it. So I think it was definitely a good move to take that square edge out and flat linear top out of this piece to make it fit in more here. And I definitely like the plugs that I made. I think this looks a lot more unique and interesting and just fits the piece better than a standard solution of either trying to match the cherry and hide the plugs or putting in walnut plugs to match the contrasting wood. But I also want to mention that if I had it to do all over, starting from scratch, I think I could do better here and make these side rails fit in not only with the legs but also with the slats. If the slats progressively got thicker, so that this was a continuation of the increasing thickness of the slats. This was higher, another 1.25 inches, so that this top surface was consistent to the edge. And if the pattern cut into the slats evolved such that this top curve in the side rail was the next progression of that evolving pattern in the slats, then it really would do, it would match both. It would be an integral part of the top pattern and match this contour twisting leg shape. So not to say that I'm unhappy here, and the only way to have that revelation and an understanding of this design, I think, was to try it. So I'm very happy with this table. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a challenge. I've learned a ton, and I'm really happy with the result, but worth mentioning for everyone that I do think I could do it better if I was ever crazy enough to spend another 6 months of my free time building a table. So thanks for watching, and next time you see it, it'll be finished.